Well, the family road trip, for a lot of people, the idea of piling everybody into the car and hitting the road maybe doesn't sound like a trip to paradise exactly. But for one father and son duo, it's their chosen trip. Jeff and Spence Siegel have been hitting the open road now for years, more than a decade actually. And not only are they big supporters of the family road trip, but they've also come up with what they call, I love this, the relation trip. How you guys doing?
Doing great, Philip.
So, first of all, I'll start with you, Jeff. Just explain this idea of the relation trip. What is it? What are we talking about? And then we'll kind of get into your story.
Okay, well, the relation trip, Philip, takes the road trip to a whole new level. And it turns it into a family adventure that begins weeks, sometimes months before you ever hit the road.
Okay.
And it lasts weeks, sometimes months after you roll back into your driveway.
Gotcha. Now explain what you and your son have been doing over the course of, it's been 11 years now, right? Talk about this.
Well, it started back in 2000 as a way for me to stay close to Spence as a single dad. And from there it kind of took on a life of its own. The first couple of trips, we were a couple of sports geeks out there taking in ball games.
Yeah.
And from there, they morphed into this kind of relation trip mode where we'd spend a whole lot of time planning for each trip, developing a name for each trip, a logo, doing special music playlists for the car, coming up with road games, doing research, creating routes, itineraries, attractions, people we were going to visit. And then post-trip, it turned into scrapbooks and videos and all sorts of post-relation trip documentation.
So Spence, I mean, how much time do you spend traveling in a year? I mean, obviously, I imagine you're in school, you got stuff going on, but you guys still find time to get away, right?
Right, obviously. We use these as our vacations. These are our summer breaks, our spring breaks, our winter breaks, whatever it is. These are our vacations, as opposed to someone, like you said, making a trip to the Bahamas. We like to go to sports stadiums, and today, or here, we'll actually finish stadium number 60, NBA and MLB arenas.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So you guys are traveling around because you're sports fans, and so it sort of started as you were going to go see all these stadiums, but obviously in doing that, you're going to see the cities that all these places are in, right? So, I mean, you've seen 60?
Every NBA arena, and as of tonight, every Major League ballpark.
Is Nationals Park the last one on your list?
Number 60, Siegel 60.
Oh, excellent. So, I mean, is there ever a point, I'm going to ask you this, pretend he's not here for a second.
Okay.
Is there ever a minute where you're like, I don't really want to go on a trip with my dad right now? Because how old are you?
I'm 18.
You're 18. Was there ever a time when, you know, in your teenage years where you're like, this is great, I love my dad, but, you know, I don't need another trip with him?
Absolutely. Well, I totally understand.
I have to ask.
I totally understand what you're saying. It's there's the life back home, which is school and friends and everything there, and then there's this life, which is taking a 1-week vacation where or you know, for 10 days, whatever it is, flying to a certain place or getting out there on the road in a car, driving somewhere, seeing these stadiums, arenas, taking it all in, coming back, enjoying it afterwards there, and that's pretty much it.
So how much time do you spend planning stuff like this?
Well, as I said, Philip, we spend a lot of time in the weeks and months that lead to a trip coming up with everything from the name to the logo to the itinerary to the routes. But the key thing about the relation trip is it's finding a common interest between you and your kids that you can spend time together working with. Now, for us, it's sports, but it can be anything from roller coasters to historical landmarks to music to food. It's really all about coming up with that skeletal framework and then building out from there. That's what the relation trip is all about. You
know, and the thing is, too, I mean, a lot of people don't have a ton of time or have a ton of money that they can, on every break, they can go somewhere for a week. What would you say to parents and the kids, for that matter, even if it's, can you do a day trip to X or Y or Z place? Why is it important that you take some time if it can't be, you know, it can't be a cross-country road trip, that you just do something?
Relation trips don't have to be 7, 10, 14 days. They can be a weekend.
They're nice, though.
Of course it is.
Nice.
That's great.
Yeah.
It can be a weekend tradition, or it can be built around a birthday or a holiday or whatnot. It's all about, again, using the time leading up to the trip to talk with your kids, to communicate, to get involved with things other than take out the garbage, do your homework, don't play so many video games.
Right.
Positive reinforcement and the kind of things that you can communicate about that are fun.
So Spence, what have you taken away from this?
Well, I'm going off to Bradley University next month, and I'm going to be, thank you, I'm going to be studying sports communications. So I would hope this had something to do with it.
Wow, I'm shocked. I'm shocked. Well, you'll have knowledge of every venue that you've been to.
Exactly.
Excellent, excellent. And hey, tell us about the book really quickly before we run out of time here. It's called Relation Trips.
Right. The book, Philip, is part memoir, part workbook. It's
Okay.
filled with dozens and dozens of ideas so that any family can kind of build on what Spence and I have stumbled into over the last 11 years and create RelationTrips of their own. And we're going to be this weekend at Alexandria at Hooray for Books, signing books and sharing ideas with folks. You want to talk to us about a trip you've got coming up? Spence and I will give you some ideas as to how to blow it up into a relation trip of your own.
Excellent, excellent. Well, enjoy the game over at Nationals Park. I
Thank
hope
you.
we live up to expectations since it's number 60 at the end of the list. Thank you guys for
Thanks
coming
for
in.
having us.